This is David with High Performance Stoicism. I want to talk to you about the question, are Stoics masochists? This question comes from a conversation I was having recently with a friend about Stoicism, about what's involved in going from being someone who is progressing in Stoicism, that is, someone who is practicing Stoicism, and someone who has completed the course and become a wise man, become a sage. For people that are practicing Stoicism, when unwanted events happen, what you should do, in many cases, is accept the events no matter what they are. But I explained, at some point, if you do this enough, if you become wise, then you will start to welcome every event you can imagine, no matter how horrible it seems to most people. And because of that, you do want to try to welcome events happening. And that's something a progressor definitely should do. So, where does masochism come into this? Well, in the example I gave, let's say you're going to work and then you run into a huge traffic jam that's going to make you late for work. And I said, people should at least accept that it's going to happen, that it happened, but also practice welcoming it. And my friend said, what? The Stoics are saying you should welcome a really bad traffic jam that's going to make you late? That can't be right. Are the Stoics masochists? And that question could be asked in an even stronger sense if we think about some of the things the Stoics talk about, such as injuring yourself or being tortured. Doesn't it sound crazy that you should welcome that? Well, to explain why the Stoics say this, let's first say something about events that are out of our power. Some events are in our power, and some events are not in our power. And what are we supposed to do with the events that are out of our power? Well, many people say today that you should accept all events that are out of your power, but that's not actually what the Stoics say. The Stoics do give us some options. They do say we should accept events that are out of our power where appropriate, but you should also ignore certain events that are out of your power. And for other events, we should despise them. In other words, look down on them and see them as not that important. But for most people, when you run into a big traffic jam and you feel, okay, I'm going to be late for work, acceptance is the best you can do. Try welcoming it and see how well you do with it. But my claim is that only someone who is fully virtuous, the sage, is someone who can welcome every event. And Epictetus says you should practice welcoming every event. And here's what he says in the Enchiridion. He says, do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well. Okay, there's something in this idea of wanting every event to happen actually as it does that seems like it could be some kind of relief, but you could just see just as easily someone who doesn't know much about Stoicism and hasn't studied it might think this person's some kind of masochist. So I'm going to explain why it is not masochism, and actually it's going to be self-love moving you toward virtue and happiness. That's the reason why you're going to start to say, okay, I'm going to accept this event at least, but I'm going to try to welcome it. Here are the reasons for this. Number one, there's a general acceptance about the world that you are going to face obstacles every single day, unwanted events every single day, without exception. Now, rather than turning our eyes away from that, Stoicism says, just accept it. That's life. That's the way it's going to be for the rest of your life, and then start to get used to it. And that's a pretty common sense reason. So that's one reason why you would accept such an event. But there's a number of others, and I'm going to go through the others. Number two, the Stoics say quite frequently, turn each event to good account. Turn each situation to good account. It doesn't matter what the situation might be, but see what you can do with this in terms of working on yourself, in terms of handling it better, in terms of not getting angry, in terms of not being distressed. And so one way to do this is, okay, take the traffic jam case. You might go through some of your work. You might go through a talk you're going to give. You might try to remember some poem that you memorized. There's a number of things you can do, and you could even have fun doing it because the rest of it is out of your power. Now, number three is a related point on what the point of welcoming such an event would be, and that is it's in tension situations, it's in tough cases like this where you're ready to get angry that you literally are building your character. This is no time to get angry. This is no time to freak out because you're setting back some of the work you've done toward becoming a wise person. Instead, you should learn to deal with it well. And we could talk about the number of ways you can do this, but one of the things you want to do is at least watch the thoughts you're having, and then something that if you believe this thought, it's going to set you off, dismiss that thought. So if you have the thought, okay, this is the worst thing to ever happen, why does this always happen to me, and so forth, as soon as you see that thought, dismiss it, and by doing this, you are going to build your character. Now, number four and five involve two different versions of why you should welcome every event. Number four is going to give you the strong version, and this is straight up Stoicism. And here's what Stoics are telling you. Here's why you should welcome it. Zeus, God, the master reason of the universe, it goes by many names. It has selected this event as the best event in the situation. In other words, the reason of the universe says this is the best event, so you should acquiesce in it too and welcome it because Zeus knows best. That's the strong version. The weaker version of this, which is also another reason to welcome every event, and this one that is pretty annoying or frustrating or maddening, depending upon how late you think you're going to be. Here's number five. Things work out well, usually. Usually things work out well, and you've been in situations like this before. You think it's going to take you an hour to get there, but it only slows you down, say, for 15 minutes. We're not saying in every case it's going to be such that you're totally wrong about it, but many times things usually work out well, and what was really bothering you was something in your imagination and not in your reality. So those are all the reasons why you should welcome every event, including a really gnarly traffic jam, but it doesn't make you a masochist. It makes you someone who is training for wisdom. That's it for this video. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.